You're listening to the Sales Success Stories podcast, where we deconstruct world-class sales performers to provide insights and strategies to help you improve. To learn more, visit us at top1.fm. Here's your host, Scott Ingram.
Today's episode requires a bit more setup than usual. If you've listened to this show before, you know that I only interview quota-carrying individual contributor sales professionals who are either number one or at least in the top 1% of sellers in their organizations if they work for very large companies. One of the things that happens when you perform at that level is you have a lot of options. And a number of the guests I've had on the show were recently number one as individual sellers, but were in sales leadership roles when we talked because, well, they'd been promoted. And I think that's really important and valuable because I also want to highlight the career path choices that are available. So obviously that move into sales leadership is one. And at the Sales Success Summit, we actually did an hour-and-a-half long panel focused on sales careers where we talked about that choice between being what I call an intentional individual contributor and moving into sales leadership. That panel was really good. And if you'd like to see it, I actually offer one free video from the Sales Success Summit to everybody who subscribes to our mailing list at top1.fm. So if that's of interest to you, just go to top1.fm, get on the mailing list, and that first welcome email has instructions for how to request that video. Today, I'm going to explore a different path with Brandon Bernanson. Brandon was the top seller in his role as a sales professional at Fathom Marketing, reselling Google search marketing. And he's chosen to go down the startup founder path and is now the CEO of Seamless.ai, where he just finished raising his seed round. So not only are we going to talk about his approach to sales like we always do, we're also going to talk about that choice and what it's like to both sell as a CEO and selling to investors in the form of fundraising. So Brandon, thanks for joining me today.
Hey, thanks for having me, Scott. Thrilled to be here. Humbled to have the opportunity to speak to you and everyone on the podcast.
Beautiful. So you would typically open with, I ask, what are the top three differentiators that have allowed you to get where you've got in sales? But I know you're an overachiever and you told me, Scott, I can't do that. I have 5 things. So what are those? Talk me through that.
Yeah, and it's funny because the top salespeople, the top 1%ers, they never follow the rules, right? So when you gave me a bunch of rules, it was really difficult for me to stay aligned to them. But I was like, there's 5 things that have attributed to my success. And I'm sure, like everyone on the call, they've heard always be closing, Glenn Garrett, Glenn Ross. So my 5 follow that theme. Always be filling the funnel, always be writing, always be prospecting, always be helping, and always be learning. And I'm excited to dive into these 5 themes or stories here later on in the podcast.
Well, let's do some of that now. I mean, so always be filling the pipeline and always be prospecting. What's the difference between those two? How are those not the same thing?
Yeah. So always be filling, I became a top seller because of these 5 things, and primarily for me personally, because I was always filling the funnel with all the sales leads and contacts and accounts and opportunities. As you highlighted in my background, I was selling for Google, and they, have hundreds of thousands of companies that need search marketing, that are using paid search marketing, you name it. So when I was, before I launched Seamless.ai, the world's best sales leads, I needed a way to go from selling to 20 people, 20 contacts, 20 companies a day to selling 1,000 a day. And ended up, building an automation platform and that filled my funnel with 1,000 ideal customers a day that were at all of these accounts. And I was able to 10x my income and become a millionaire. And that's why, the number one factor in my success going from 6 to 7 figures was always be filling the pipeline with all the leads, all the contacts, and all the accounts that you need to sell to. It's a game changer. Because when you could ditch 60 to 70% of your time wasted on sales research, data entry, scouring millions of websites, looking for all the contacts and companies you need to sell to in your total addressable market, your life changes forever and you make a lot of money and you help your company make a lot of money.
I get it now. So the filling is really about who am I going to now prospect?
It's all about data. Always be filling the pipeline with data. Always be filling the sales funnel with data. Always be filling Salesforce with all the data that you need and all the contacts and accounts.
Beautiful. So the one that's probably the most unique that I don't think I've heard yet is Always Be Writing. Talk about that.
Yeah. So Always Be Writing is once you have all the data, once you know all your ideal customer personas, right? Who are all the contacts? For example, we sell to all the VPs of sales, directors of sales, sales development reps, VPs of digital marketing, VPs of demand generation, directors of demand generation, digital CRM, you name it. So you've got all these different personas. So Always Be Writing is about writing all the content and all the scripts to connect with all these different personas. So what are the 5 to 10 cold emails that you need to write to personally prospect, connect, and close that VP of sales to meet with you? What are the scripts you need to write? The voicemail scripts, the call scripts, the social scripts, the text scripts, literally writing out all of this content, this prospecting content. I've got a playbook for Seamless.ai and for my personal life where we've got over 1,500 sales scripts on every single thing in the sales funnel. Cold calls, voicemails, emails, social touches, text, video, meeting callback, meeting follow-up, reschedule, schedule, anything in the funnel. Proposal, thank you. Proposal callback scripts, sales objection scripts. I'm not interested, no budget, need to talk to someone. We're already working with someone. Send me more information. I need to talk to my boss. It's not a good time. All of these things you need to be writing content for, and you need to be A/B testing.
And where does all that live, and how do you get to it quickly in the moment?
Yeah, great question. So, we originally built the sales playbook using Google Docs. And then we actually created a software to host. It's like a CMS. It's called salesobjections.com. I actually negotiated that domain like 7 years ago, salesobjections.com. We built a custom technology that hosts all the content, and it's super clickable, and anyone can go there and sign up for the software. And right now it's invite only because it's in beta. And our plan isn't to sell that software. We just built it to get all of this writing content that we have for everything and use it easily so that we can have all the content, train our reps, and sell as fast as possible.
Well, and I have to ask on behalf of everybody that's listening, do you have an invite for the audience?
Yeah, absolutely. So go to salesobjections.com, and when you sign up, make sure to use the referral code top1%, and you could spell that out. Or you can use top1.fm or top1, with the actual percent sign, whatever works best. We'll make sure we get it tracked.
Perfect. Let's make it even easier. Let's just make it TOP, the number one.
TOP number one, top one. Love it.
There we go. So let's round it out. The last two were learning and helping. Talk to us about that.
Yeah. So let's go. Yeah. So we've got learning, helping, and prospecting. So learning. Well, let's go to helping first. So we've got all the data, all of our customer personas in our total addressable market from Seamless.ai, the world's best sales leads, or another platform. And then you've written all these sales scripts. But to really write all the sales scripts, you need to always be helping. Like, I obsess over everything about my customer personas. When I stopped selling for me to make myself a shitload of money and obsessed over the customer persona and what can I do to help them accomplish their goals, accomplish their dreams, crush it this year, help them maximize revenue, maximize sales, maximize quota, book as many meetings as possible, generate as much revenue as possible. I started doubling my income every year, since 5 to 7 years ago. Every year I would double my income because I had all this data. Then I would have all this content that was so obsessed about helping the persona achieve their goals and dreams that it changes the game. So that's why I'm really focused on being a servant leader and a servant salesperson. And a servant salesperson, I think you can look at this weird, right? So servant salesperson does not mean, oh, Scott, I'm here to help. Here's my company. This is what we can do. How can we help you? It's like, hey, Scott, I know you sell for Marketo, the world's best marketing automation software. The work you do for Glassdoor, Adobe, and Intuit is revolutionary. And I want to help you acquire 10,000 new companies that look exactly like those companies. And here are 5 strategies that my team and I put together that will help you make this next year your biggest and best yet. Let's set up a quick time to run through those. in more detail. Here's some availability. It's like really focused on how do we help these companies, these people accomplish their goals and dreams.
Beautiful. And what about the learning piece? How does that apply?
Yeah. So then you've got like the always be prospecting is like once you have the data, once you have the writing, once you understand the persona and you're helping the persona, it's prospecting. Massive amounts of activity, a shitload of activity. You gotta be whatever your quota is, and the activity to hit your quota, 5 to 10x the activity requirements. That's what I did. So when I became a millionaire, I literally figured out what is the math to 10x to like, I was given the quota of $1 million and I set it at 10 mil, and then I did the activity to hit the 10 mil. So prospecting, like what's the calling activity, the emailing activity, the social activity, the texting activity, the video activity, how many proposals need to go out, how many demos do you need to give, what's the, and then multiply that by 5 to 10x. Whatever your quota is given to you by your boss, and they think that that is your potential, which is not what your true potential is.
That's awesome. So the thing that I didn't tell you that I had in my back pocket that I'm gonna throw out there now, your previous boss is actually a friend of mine. So I asked Jeff, I said, hey, Jeff, so talk to me about Brandon. What, from your perspective, what were the top 3 things? And he said, he's tenacious, he's quick on his feet, and he sells the dream. And one of the things that we'll also come back to is there was sort of some additional conversation that happened with that. And he also said, look, he's got this really supportive, maybe she's your wife now, but fiance, girlfriend, and he just works like 18 hours a day all the time, right? So we'll definitely come back to that. I'm curious to know if you have any reaction to that before we get into kind of your origin story and how this whole journey into sales began for you.
Yeah, no, I mean, Jeff's a huge mentor of mine. He taught me, I've worked for some really bad leaders and I've worked for some really great leaders. Jeff was one of the best leaders that helped multiply my potential to get to where I'm at today. And he knows that. And I'm really appreciative of him. When you're a top 1% performer, you need a boss that supports you, that empowers you. And when you break a lot of stuff, he backs you up. I was doing things that no one's ever done before at the company that we worked at. And Jeff would take a lot of heat for me because, we'd be doing 5x, 10x the amount of activity, 10x the amount of demos. We'd piss some prospects off. We'd win 10x the amount of business, and we were just doing things totally new, totally different, totally obsessed over our customer personas and all of this jazz. And yeah, I would say he's spot on. Just, I'm always trying to learn. I'm always working really, really hard and tenacious and resilient and doing whatever it takes. And my fiance, Danielle, she's been with me. This is my 3rd company. So she was with me when I ran my first company that generated $6 million in revenue. She was with me with my second company that failed, even though it got acquired by a publicly traded company. I call it a failure because I didn't make any money on it. We made like $100,000. And then she's with me, this 3rd company. So, and then throughout Fathom and IBM Interactive. So she's a huge proponent to my success. I wouldn't be able to do what I do without her. And I think it's important to have a partner that supports you.
Yeah, great stuff. And I'm all about fully calling out mentors. So Jeff is actually Jeff Leo Herman, and I'll put a link to his LinkedIn profile in the show notes. So you go to top1.fm, look up this episode, and we'll get you set up that way. So Brandon, talk about how did this all start? How did you get into sales in the first place?
Oh man, so this is a wild story. And I think it's good for the audience. Like the top 1%ers could probably relate, people that are trying to get to the top 1%. I hope this is of value to you. So my family and I were dirt poor. My mom worked at a bank as a bank teller during the day. And at night, she worked at a grocery store. My dad worked in construction and at like a computer hardware store. So my mom and dad were both working 2 full-time jobs, and they didn't have a college education, and they were grinding, all the time. And we were poor. I remember being a kid in grade school, poor, getting made fun of for bad clothes and all this jazz. Could never buy lunch food. It was an interesting, I'm really humbled and appreciative of coming from that because it took me to where I'm at today. But then my dad my dad started selling for a computer hardware store. They sold the first Apples and the first PCs, the first Mac and the first PCs in Macy's. So literally, like, this was when they would sell hardware, computer hardware in stores, like in Macy's stores, retail stores. And randomly, a computer associate, CA Technologies, a sales executive, was going through the store. They met my dad and they're like, man, you really know a lot about this technology and about computers. You should sell for us at CA Technologies. It was called Computer Associates at the time. And my dad ended up quitting the computer hardware store and quitting construction. He joined CA. He had to be out in New York for months and traveled probably half my life. He was on the road 5 days a week. But if anyone knows CA Technologies, it's the first software company to go from startup to over $1 billion in sales. The first software company to do over $1 billion in software revenue. And my life, every 2 years after my father started in software sales, we completely changed. We went from super poor to super wealthy in a matter of 5 to 10 years. Every 3 years we were moving into a bigger house and a bigger house and then a mansion. And I just remember seeing my dad go into sales, and we went from super poor to super rich. And that's when I was like, you know what? This is the best profession in the world. Someone without a college education could go in and make a shitload of money, $500,000 or $1 million. Unfortunately, my father never hit 7 figures. He hit high mid 6 figures. And he said, Brandon, that's what I was able to do with the technology and education that I had. I know you can hit 7 or 8 or 9. And so what I did was I started looking in colleges that had a sales education. And there were only 5 colleges at the time. And one was where I was from, Ohio. So the Ohio University had a sales education certification program called the Ralph and Lucy Shea Sales Center. So I applied to Ohio University. And by the way, what was great is they had a sales center, and it was also ranked #1 party school by a few publications out there. Hugh Hefner may have led one of those publications. So literally, I'm 18. I'm looking to get into sales, like learn as much about sales. This school has the #1 sales school, and it's also the #1 party school. I'm like, that's where I'm going. And then right when I got into learning about sales, I launched my first company that did 6 million over the course of 18, 19, 20s when I was a freshman to junior in college.
That's fantastic. So I typically ask if there's anything that you would do differently if you could start over today. You've been way more intentional. Almost everybody that I talk to on the show, there's a few exceptions. And what's interesting is almost all of the exceptions to this rule of we all kind of accidentally end up in sales, it's almost always their parents were in sales. And they see the truth of what the profession is and what the possibility is, and they sort of seek it out. Virtually everybody else, the vast majority of us, kind of ended up in sales because it sort of happened to us. Anything that you would do differently, knowing everything that you know now about that journey?
Yeah, I would say I started learning about, so always be learning, one of my core principles. When I was 23, 24, 25, I bought every single sales book. They didn't even have Amazon at the time, I don't think. It was Barnes and Noble. It was, there were a few of them that went out of business. I don't even remember their names. But I bought 100, 150 sales books. And this goes back. So my first business was marketing for the online poker industry. And I used to try to learn to play poker by going and playing poker and then losing thousands of dollars. And I was like, dude, I'm going to learn how to become the best Texas Hold'em poker player by playing poker. And then every week I would go and I'd get my ass kicked and I'd lose all my money. And I just got so sick of it. I'm like, you know what? I'm doing this wrong. Months of losing all my money. I'm going to study all this. I'm going to study all the poker experts. So I bought 5 to 10 different poker books, all the top players. And I studied all the statistics, the probability, the strategy. And then I started making thousands and tens of thousands of dollars playing poker. And then I realized, when I got into sales, going from being an entrepreneur after my first 2 companies, I sold for IBM Interactive full-time for 3 years and then to Fathom for Google. That's when I bought all these books. I was like, you know what? I lost everything I kept losing everything I owned playing poker, not knowing how to play. I'm going to read every single sales book in the world to know all the sales strategies, tips, best practices to crush quota. And, that's when I learned everything, read all the books, studied all the books. That's how I created this 1,500 to 2,000 page sales playbook. And, since then with Seamless, with the learning and with the content and the execution, that's how I was able to just constantly double my income every year. So if I could go back at the age of 18, I would read every single sales book possible instead of waiting 5 years later.
Yeah, great rule. Was there one or two of that giant stack? What were the most impactful books that you read through that period?
So there's two immediate ones that come to mind. Three immediate books that come to mind that had the biggest freaking impact on my life. The first two are by the same author. I got to give a shout out to my mentor, my advisor, Grant Cardone. So, I thought there was something wrong with me because all I wanted to do was work, hustle, and make a lot of money. I wanted to work, hustle, sell, make a lot of money. And that was against industry norms. That was against what everyone believed in. Everyone kept preaching 9 to 5, don't work too hard. You're going to end up on your deathbed wishing you didn't give it wishing you spent more time out of work and all this other bullshit that I don't believe in. So when I came across Grant Cardone, Sell or Be Sold, and the 10X rule, I felt like I met my other dad, my other mentor, my other father, my other coach who was like, holy shit, this is the exact same type of guy that I am. This is exactly who I am. He just put it on paper and said, I don't care about how much criticism I'm going to get for being different and being so focused on accomplishing my goals and dreams and all of that. So the 10X rule and Sell or Be Sold had a massive impact on my life. And I became close with Grant and Jared 7 years ago before they were famous. So what's really cool is I read Grant's first auto, he was big in auto. This is funny too. I wouldn't just study enterprise sales books. I was like, okay, I can learn anything from any salesperson. So if you sell insurance sales, I'm going to pick up that book and try to learn as much as possible. If you sell cars, those guys are pretty good at sales. I'm going to pick up the books and learn as much as possible. If you sell enterprise sales like Jill Conrath, I'm going to pick up the books and learn as much as possible. So buying the 130 different sales books, every single possible sales book out there, I came across Grant. It was like an auto sales book. I started reading it and I was like, holy shit. That's when I learned about sales objections. And that's when I learned about a lot of sales activity. So then he came out with Sell or Be Sold and he came out with the 10X rule, and those books are my kind of my inspiration and my most favorite. And they truly highlight that don't listen to society and just give it your all in what you do. And sales is the best profession in the world, which I believe. The other author, Jill Conrath, it was literally the first enterprise sales book I read, Selling to Big Companies. And the first part of the book talks about the persona and how busy they are and how much bullshit they have to deal with on a daily basis. They've got their boss yelling at them, screaming at them. They got 20 employees sending them thousands of emails. They got hundreds of calls coming in from people trying to prospect them. They're inundated with bullshit 24/7. And how can you obsess over the customer persona, understand their responsibilities, their KPIs, and what would help them accomplish their goals, and write messaging and write content and develop your pitch to deliver value, to help, and to take that prospect from where they are today to where they need to go. So Jill Conrath is my second one of my second biggest favorite authors. My third would be Aaron Ross. Right when I was starting to develop the idea for Seamless.ai, the world's best sales leads, Aaron Ross comes out with his book. He's like, dude, and Jeff. So Jeff and I were working together right when the book came out. And I'm like, Jeff, dude, I've been pitching to you. We need to have inside sales. We need to have outside sales. Jeff was a believer, but we knew it was very difficult to sell our CEO on keeping them separate because they used a full stack salesperson to do outside sales and inside sales. And I'm like, Jeff, you pay me way too much money to have me sending cold emails and dropping cold voicemails. Now, granted, I prospect every day of the week. That wasn't the point of that. It's just you need me pitching and closing 24/7. That's what I do. That's what I know how to do. And when I first came to Fathom to sell for Google, the first year I was a full stack sales rep and worked with Jeff and worked with the CEO Scott Lowry and Kevin Shaw, the chairman, and walked them through this predictable, repeatable, scalable model. And then the book comes out and I'm like, guys, everything that I said here, it's highly validated. Listen to Aaron Ross at Salesforce. And then the fourth and fifth authors, Anthony Iannarino, who's one of my investors, one of my authors, one of my mentors, the only sales guide you'll ever need. He's published 2 or 3 books now. He's just got amazing content. And also Stu Heinecke, How to Get a Meeting with Anyone. There's so many authors out there. I've read them all. I love them all. That's also, why I'm writing, Sales Secrets from the Top 1%. And Scott, you and I connect because we love studying the top sales experts. I wanted to share everything that I learned and interview like you, all the best of the best, to highlight this stuff because it helped me get to where I need to go.
Yeah, so much great stuff. Something tells me that we are going to have more links in this particular episode's show notes than any other show. So again, if you're probably driving now, you're working out at the gym, go to top1.fm. We will have all of these books connected up there so that you don't have to remember and take notes and write this all down. I got you. And Brandon, I just realized my opening intro was so long that I forgot to mention that this episode is sponsored by Story Dimensions, a SaaS sales enablement company. Stories sell, and Story Dimensions is the only solution that captures and packages real stories from your customers into easy to digest and deliver formats that sales professionals can then use to build credibility and trust with their buyers. So I encourage you to go check that out. Go to storydimensions.com and request a live demo to see how Story Dimensions can help you accelerate sales cycles and close more deals. And of course, we'll have a link to that on top1.fm. In fact, they've got an ad on every page. So you just click on that on the top right-hand side and get going. So Brandon, put this in perspective, especially just in terms of, let's do this in 2 dynamics. Let's first talk about your last quota carrying sales role, but then let's talk a little bit about Seamless.ai. Quantify your results. Like, what did it take? What did you produce to become number one and become a millionaire?
Yeah, so I'm it's funny being the CEO, dude. I carry a quota right now for sales and for VC fundraising. At Seamless.ai, we're about to close a $2.5 to $3 million round. That quota, I had to do everything that we had to do in sales. Same thing, build a massive list, always be filling, build that massive list of VCs, always be write all the content to connect with those VCs to get them to want to meet with you. And then obviously always be helping, always be learning and all of that jazz. So it's funny because just because I'm a CEO, I've got a quota for venture capital fundraising. Then I've got a sales quota. My quota is to close 10 licenses a day. So right now, me personally, I want to close 10 licenses a day for Seamless.ai. And then each of my sales reps will close, their quota is roughly 7 to 10 licenses a day. So I carry a $2 million quota right now for our company. It's actually a $2.5 million quota. My VP of sales carries a $2.5 million quota, and then my AE carries a $1.5 million quota. And then previously before that, my quota was to generate, 80, 100K in MRR. And then my goal was to just do 500K to $1 million in MRR. So it was just grinding against, when you're selling 24/7. I had a bunch of SDRs working for me, the most SDRs that any AE had working for them at the time, or any sales director had working at the time. And I just had them setting up as many appointments as possible. And I created a repeatable process to easily pitch, manage, help, and close that book of business. And that's what helped me, double my income every year.
So we talked about your quotas. How have you performed against the quotas?
Well, if I'm given a 100K quota and I'm doing 500K to $1 million in MRR, you're performing at 5 to 10x the quota.
Well, which one was it? That's a big range.
Oh, well, it changed every year. So at IBM, my quota was it was like 3.5 million the first year, 5 million the second year, 7 million the third year. We beat the quota all 3 years. At Fathom, I don't remember, it's been 3 or 4 years since I've been there, but the quota was like 80K in MRR the first year. Then like it bumped up to 240 and then 380 or something. And we just kept beating it like by 5x. So they kept increasing the quota. We set records that have never been done before. We wouldn't worry about quota. I never worried about quota. Whatever the quota was, we would set the goal at roughly 10x that, and then figure out the activity and the people needed to hit the 10x number and then try to get budget for it. And our management thought we were crazy, but we did it anyways.
So along through all of that adventure, what's your favorite, like in the trenches sales story? Whether you won the deal, you lost the deal, maybe it's the one that you learned the most from. What was that?
Oh man. So this is a good one. We were pitching a $32 billion company, a deal where I would make 6 figures, that my company would make $1 million at the time, Fathom. And in the trenches, this was a highly consultative, massive enterprise strategy deal where my team and I, we had to fly in and we had to work with this holding company that had 40 billion in revenue. And then each of the companies had hundreds of millions or billions in revenue. So their business model was to acquire as many companies as possible and take them from 100 million to $1 billion. So they had a bunch of $1 billion companies, $100 million companies, $500 million companies. The deal that we were working was to consult all of their companies to help them dramatically increase revenue through online marketing. And it was tricky because you had like this massive deal, but then you had to get all the salespeople, the VPs, the directors from all these portfolio companies aligned and bought into you. So you're literally pitching like 20 to 30 companies to get one company to close the deal with you. And that was definitely the trickiest deal because you're working like 20 deals in one deal, getting all the decision makers, getting all the influencers, getting everyone to love the approach, love the team, love the strategy, love the results that you're going to generate. Jeff, me, and everyone I worked with, that was a very difficult deal that took a lot of months. And then when we had to pitch it in person, I had an ear infection. I got the flu. It wasn't contagious. I forget what it was, but like I was deathly sick. I had an ear infection. I'm going to say it's like the flu, like some type of other infection. And like I couldn't hear out of one ear. And I had to get on a plane and fly to the West Coast from the East Coast and pitch these guys over 5 hours, 7 hours. And I was deathly sick. And I'm like, dude, I don't give a shit. We're jumping on that fucking plane with my whole pitch team of 7. And we're going out there and we're going to pitch it. And we're going to crush it. My fiance is like, you can't go. You're deathly sick. I'm like, no, we're going. I kept just getting as many drugs as possible before we went, during landing, after we went. And we ended up crushing the pitch, crushing the strategy, winning the deal. And that deal led to my first 6-figure commission check in 1 month. And it was funny because I was landing in Vegas to meet with a buddy, 2 buddies of mine in Vegas. And I get a call right when we're in the hotel room of Cosmopolitan. We're laying on the bed, just like getting ready to relax before we go gamble. I get a call from my accountant that's like, hey, we have a problem. And I'm like, well, shit, dude, I just took off for the day. Like, what's the problem? A customer? Are they complaining? Like, what do you need? I'm supposed to be off today. I only take like 2 or 3 days off a quarter. And she's like, I can't transmit, I can't wire. I forget what it was, $103,000 or $108,000. It was something like that. I can't wire $103,000 in commission. I can, but you're going to get taxed at like 50 or 60 or 40%, whatever the percent was. And I like paused and I'm like, you mean like $10,000, right? Like $10,300. And she's like, no, $103,000, that's your commission this month. And, I was so focused on every deal that I never like worried about the commission that I was going to make. I was just focused on as many deals as possible. And I forgot like how many deals we closed and how much commission was coming in. And that was when like I got teary and I was like, holy shit, I was like, holy shit, 6 figures in 1 month. That's incredible. That's that deal. And like, there were a bunch of deals that led to that, 103 or 108K in commission. But that's the story. That's the deal. That's the one moment that you never forget. And that's when I realized if you become the best of the best in sales and you care about your customers and you do whatever it takes to help them, anything's possible and you can make as much money as possible.
Yeah, great stuff. You reminded me, you haven't lived until you've flown with a massive ear infection. I remember doing that. And I thought, just the pressure build up in my head. I literally was sitting in a window seat and I'm thinking they are going to find the top part of my body. They're going to find this body that's just shoulders and it's going to be missing a head and there's just going to be gore splattered all over the plane because literally I think my head is going to explode right now. That's living the dream.
It's the worst. It is the worst. How you just described it. I would say it's exactly like that, but maybe even a little worse. And you described it pretty bad. It's terrible. I'm sorry you had to go through that. It's miserable. When I landed, I couldn't hear my team. I literally thought I was deaf. I couldn't hear them. And I'm like, fuck, how am I supposed to pitch this 4-hour deal? Literally the pitch was 4 to 6 hours going through every portfolio company, the deal, the structure, the strategy. We had to bring different portfolio companies in on the pitch. And I'm like, I can't even hear. Went to the drugstore, bought $100 worth of drugs, just kept popping them. Popping pills, popping syrup, popping anything to get over that sickness to just make it through those 6 hours. And then we had to jump on a plane right after we stayed the night, I think, and then flew out the next day. So we got to go out to eat, celebrate, and then go out. And I felt a little bit better the next day.
Yeah, there you go. So since we're deep in the pain funnel right now anyway, what do you find to be the hardest part, the most challenging thing in sales today for you?
Okay, so I was an enterprise sales rep, enterprise sales rep working with enterprise companies, carrying an enterprise quota, launching Seamless, the world's best sales leads. It's like going from, you're selling highly transactional software licenses. So it's a completely different deal. It's a completely different sale. And it's not hard. It's just different. So instead of selling $100,000 to $1 million to $5 million deals, you're selling $100 to $200 licenses and you're selling a shitload of them, 10, 100, 500, 1,000 of them. So it's different because you've got these highly transactional software licenses. And, for us, what's interesting is our product and our platform has gone viral through the outbound selling, through the outbound marketing, because we built an amazing product. Everyone keeps referring and inviting other people to use it. So for us now, we've got hundreds of inbound leads, and probably like most of the people on this podcast, I've never had more than 5 or 10 leads a week coming in via inbound. I've always had to go out and hunt and eat everything that I've caught. So I'm not used to having to go hunt, prospect, book as many appointments as possible. That's what I do every day. I'm not used to having hundreds of leads come in and figuring out, okay, well, we only have a certain amount of AEs. They can't even manage all of those leads. How do we create the predictable, repeatable process to score those leads, to sell to those leads, to close as many of those leads as possible? And then how do you create an automated self-service sales model? So we don't want to be having my highly expensive AEs pitching and closing one license deals. So anyone with 50 employees or under, how do we automate sales? How do we automate the webinars for the VPs of sales, the directors of sales, the managers of sales development, the sales development reps? We're just getting into that now because we're hitting 100, 200, 300 leads a day and we can't present to them all. So we got to come up with an automated sales process. We got to make our outbound more transactional. I'm obsessed with personalization and outbound selling, but we have to move a little bit quicker. So we're going to have to lose a little bit on some of the personalization so that we can move faster, which I think is okay because our conversion rates are still being maintained, which is good. But they're just new challenges I've never had to deal with, but they're great problems to have to solve.
So the marketing automation nerd in me wants to ask you 20 more questions along that vein, but that's a different show. Let's transition and talk just a little bit about, and I know this is a big part of just how you operate. Let's talk about routines and habits and the things that you do, starting with walk us through, if there is such a thing as a typical day, right? The alarm goes off. What time does that happen and what happens from there? Give us the walkthrough.
Yes. So I wake up at 4:30 to 5 a.m. every day. I've been doing that for 7, 8, 9 years. I just love waking up early. And I use my Fitbit. My Fitbit wakes me up because my wife, my fiance, she would freaking kill me every day if I woke her up at 5 a.m. or 4:30 a.m. So wake up. It's typically like 4:45. I'll wake up, make a coffee, head to the gym. And I do about, 40, 50, 60 minutes of cardio, 30, 40 minutes of weights. And while I'm at the gym doing cardio, I'm working, whether it's content development, whether it's emails, whether it's deals that I'm working. Like I just get too bored doing one thing. So I'm either trying to learn something or I'm trying to write or I'm trying to work a deal while I'm doing my cardio. And then when I'm doing the workout, I'm blasting electronic dance music, EDM. I love EDM because of it's high beats. So then after the workout, come back and I'll start selling. I'll get back at around 7 a.m. and I'll start working the pipeline right away. And then I've got a dev stand up with my dev team for 30 minutes. And then I've got a sales stand up for 30 minutes. And the sales stand up is where we role play. We go over good news. We go over how did we perform the day before. It's not a daily commit call, but it's like good news. What did we get done yesterday? What are our goals for today? What are the hot deals? Anything on the hot deals, blockers, anything that we can do to get those deals over the finish line, get everyone jacked up every day. Let's do a little bit of role playing. I believe in daily role playing, and then let's go. And then my day personally, I'm either in 7 to 10 pitches with prospects or with VCs. And then in between there, I'm managing product, software development, and customer success. So I'm in probably 10 to 15 back-to-back pitches or meetings and kind of strategy sessions. At around 5 or 6, I need a mental break. So I may go for a run or just take an hour break to clear the head, maybe go for a walk and just think about, I'm not going to say meditate, but when you're working at that velocity, by the time you hit around 5 p.m., you're like, I need a quick break. I'm not someone that needs a lot of breaks. I get bored. So roughly 30 minutes to an hour break. And then I start working again from 6 to 10. And then my fiance, she supports how much I work, but I know she loves it, but she hates it because I like to work from 6 to 10. So while she's watching shows, I'll work by her. And, while she's got The Real Housewives on, I'm just cranking through emails, cranking through strategy, product design, UI, UX, customer success, deal flow, you name it. And by about 9, I'll probably shut down, watch an hour of TV or read an hour of a book so that I can pass out. And then I try to get to bed by 10. Lately, it's I'm going to bed at 11 or midnight because we've been raising the seed round. But I like to do 5 a.m. to roughly 10:30.
And then I know that that's not a 5-day-a-week thing. So what happens on kind of the weekend days?
So I don't believe in 5 days a week. I think so. By the way, I don't believe in a lot of things that are normal, and maybe it's just me, and people can call me crazy. I don't care. Society creates a lot of norms, right? It's normal to eat. You need to eat 5 or 7 or 10 times a day. First off, if you look at the science, that's bullshit. Your body should really be in a fasting state. You shouldn't be eating that much. Your metabolism is fine. Eating 5, 7 times a day to keep up with your metabolism is bullshit. There's these things that society, these myths, this bullshit that people and companies sell you. I think the food industry has sold you that you need to eat 5 times a day. I only eat 1 to 2 times a day. I fast for 12 to 15 hours. And I eat, lunch, or I eat lunch and a small dinner. When it comes to 7 days a week, I think it's bullshit that you only should work 5 days a week. Who came up with that? Why did they come up with it? When I say work too, by the way, if you're selling and doing something that you fucking hate, of course you're going to not want to do that any day of the week. So I'm talking about if you love what you do you should not be taking off, 2 days out of 5 days. Like I just gained, but my whole hashtag thing is there is no Q5. But because I work 7 days a week, I get a Q5 over any of my competitors, over anyone in my industry. So I believe in working 7 days a week. I don't believe in wasting time. I don't believe in I don't do 95% of my friends are burning time with mindless shit on the weekend. I cut all of that out because I'm laser focused on my mission. I've got a mission and a goal to positively impact 1 billion people. And because we positively impact 1 billion people, we build $100 million company. To do that, you need to be laser focused. You need to cut out all the bullshit. You can have fun. Like last night, I worked till 9, and then I went out and met up with an investor, Danielle, my fiance's sister, and we had drinks rooftop and by the fire, and we hung out for an hour and a half, and then I passed out and woke up at 5 o'clock today. So you could have fun, but I think you need to minimize the fun and to accomplish your goals and dreams. So I love working 7 days a week. I've been working 7 days a week for the past 5 years. And I think burnout is bullshit. I think if you want to do big things in this world, I've studied all the billionaires. I've studied all the 100 millionaires, the 3 comma club winners, the 2 comma club winners. These guys are cranking 24/7 on helping a lot of people do big things. And I've just mentally, physically, emotionally trained my body and mind to do that and not worry about what other people think. And 80% of my audience probably thinks I'm crazy. Oh, you don't care about family. Just because I work a lot does not mean I don't care about family. I love my family. I do whatever it takes to provide for my family. I do whatever it takes to provide for my customers, my employees, but I'm all in, and I do everything all in, whatever it takes to make it happen. So I love working 7 days a week.
Yeah. So what are the other habits and routines that are core to your success and just the way that you operate effectively?
Yeah. So great question. Eating. So the workout, you gotta work out. Well, I'm sorry. Do you want sales or do you want outside of sales?
What's the difference?
Okay, sure. Yeah. I mean, everything I do is to improve sales and to maximize sales anyways. So that's all I'm focused on. So the routine, I think to maximize sales, you have to have your health right. So I went vegan because my mom passed away when I was 22. Okay. So my mom got Alzheimer's. And my fiance's mom passed away when she was 19 of cancer. So my fiance and I studied the science of all of these top 5 deadliest diseases. And we truly believe all the diseases that kill you, that kill America, are because of what we put into our body, what we eat. All the meat's got so much steroids and garbage in it. All the milk and dairy is terrible for you. All of this shit that you're told that is so good for you and exactly what your body needs is all bullshit, and it's killing the world. So number 1, health right. I work out and I eat extremely healthy. I'm vegan. My fiance is vegan. We believe in that methodology and we're maximizing our health. When I went vegan, by the way, and when I integrated intermittent fasting, I lost 50 pounds in less than 90 days. I literally dropped to, it's roughly 10 to 12% body fat in 90 days going vegan. So I highly recommend anyone that wants to get in shape, anyone wants to maximize their health, cut out the dairy, cut out the milk, cut out the eggs, cut out the meat. You're gonna be really thankful. It will be hard, but we're here as a support group for you. Next is I minimized alcohol. So to maximize sales, alcohol is great, but you need to get to a mental state where you're not dependent on things to help you relax. And this one was really hard for me because I went to the #1 party school. Salespeople, I'm selling a product for salespeople, by salespeople, and everyone loves to go out and they love to drink and they love to eat a lot. So I think, I cut out drinking during the week. I minimized alcohol intake on the weekend. Now, this is funny because last night I had a few too many glasses of wine with the fiance and friends celebrating a few new investors, with a cigar. But, it's just I recommend minimizing the intake of alcohol. I think that dramatically slows you down mentally, physically, and emotionally. And then every day on more of the sales front, everything I talked about, filling the pipeline with all the data you need, Don't be researching and manually data entering all the leads, all the prospects, all the contacts and accounts. That should all be automated for you. Every day you need to wake up with a full CRM of everyone you need to sell to. That was the number one biggest factor in me 10xing my income, was because I had all the leads, all the accounts, all the contacts that I needed to sell to every day, every week, every month. When I woke up, I never wasted 1 second of one day figuring out who I needed to sell to that day. It was all prospect and close. It was all send emails, make the calls, drop the voicemails, send the social in-mail messages, and prospect and close the appointments, prospect and close, the proposals and the deals. So like those habits I think are critical, and then just maintaining them every day. Like on the weekends, I still prospect every day on the weekends. Every day I'm prospecting. Like even though I'm a CEO and I'm pitching every day as a CEO. I carry a quota as a CEO. I have a lead generation quota as a CEO because I think everything starts at the top. Like if I'm not pitching, if I'm not closing, if I'm not prospecting, if I'm not role playing, I literally role play every day with my team. And guess what? Sometimes I may not have the best sales objection response to I'm not interested, no budget, need to talk to my boss, I'm using XYZ competitor. Like the best part of I make myself highly vulnerable because I think I can learn from any one of my team members, any one of my mentors, any one of these expert influencers like Scott on Top1.fm. Like I try to learn as much as possible from all of these people in my network. Like Scott has probably done a lot in his life that I can learn from, successes and failures. I don't look to Scott as a competitor. I looked to Scott as everyone in my life I look to try to learn something from. And I think that they've gone through a lot, good and bad. And what are the experiences that I can learn from guys like Scott or other salespeople or other marketers that I can apply to my life to maximize my potential and the impact that I'm trying to have on this earth for the legacy that we want to leave.
So, Brandon, let's talk a little bit more about the prospecting today, right? What are you finding to be most effective, whether it be channel or a particular strategy? What's working?
Yeah. So what's working is it changes for each company, right? If you're selling shampoo, it's going to be different than selling a 7-figure enterprise global website redesign for Google, or a 6-figure search marketing program. Selling that is going to be different than selling a $125 license to Seamless.ai, the world's best sales leads. But what I know is what's working for us right now and what's working for me is I leverage all the channels. I don't believe in the debate of one channel over the other. Like I don't buy into any bullshit around cold calling is dead, emailing is dead, social is dead, you're dead, I'm dead. Like I don't buy into any of this channel debate bullshit. It's you need to like in marketing, you know a lot about marketing, Scott. It's you use all the marketing channels. It's not you only write content and you don't do any SEO or paid search or social or mobile. Like you use them all as best as possible, and every day you're trying to improve the conversion rates of those channels. So, we use them all: emailing, calling, voicemails, texting, social, tons of content, tons of in-mails. I think for us lately, that's something new that we've been getting into is video and content. If anyone that follows me, like we're literally launching a TV show on LinkedIn that documents everything we do. So like we're getting into some new stuff where we're documenting everything we do and then sharing what we do with the audience, because what we do, everyone else is trying to do, and we have successes and we have failures that you can learn from. So, a lot of personalization, a lot of using Seamless to get like thousands of leads every day into the funnel. And then we're using a multi-channel approach. So, we're doing, the mass personalization of emails because our data is so personalized and our leads are so like personalized with hundreds of data points. If we get that into Salesforce, we'll get out all the emails, and in our emails, we're very persona focused. So VPs get a certain cadence or sequence. Directors of sales get a certain sequence. SDRs get a certain sequence. VPs of marketing get a certain sequence. So we're very persona obsessed with our messaging and our cadences. And our cadences are anywhere from 7 to 30 steps, all multi-channel. emails first, calls, voicemails, social touches, texting, voicemails, content development, the nine. And for us, you see anywhere from 3% conversion rate from cold to closed one, all the way to a 30-40% conversion rate from cold to closed one, depending on the channel, depending on the cadence, the timeline, the persona.
So I'm sure there are tons. So let's kind of focus on what are the most effective or most important tools and apps that help you execute all of those processes.
Yep. So anything you do at the top of the funnel, like I'll just go top down. So it starts with data. You need all the data, and this is why obviously we built Seamless. Like you need all the data to sell to everyone. You need to acquire your total addressable market instantly. And you need to know all the accounts and contacts you need to sell to. So number one, you need a data platform, whether it's Seamless.ai or any other data platform out there. You need a sales data engine that fills the funnel 24/7 for you. Next, once you have all this data, you need to put it somewhere like a CRM. So we're partners with Salesforce. We're partners with HubSpot. We're building our partnerships with every CRM. Like you need a CRM. I've been a Salesforce customer. Salesforce is an investor in Seamless.ai. So it's pretty awesome that, we're partnered with them and we've got investors from Salesforce in the company. So that's really exciting. So we're a big fan of Salesforce. We're also a big fan of HubSpot. We're also a big fan of Pipedrive and Zoho and all of these other CRMs, ProsperWorks, that are helping thousands of sales teams and marketing teams maximize their growth. So you need that CRM. Next, you need an emailing platform. So, we're partnered with Outreach.io and SalesLoft, and we have licenses to both. Before that, it was ToutApp, that ran that market. So I recommend, making sure you leverage an emailing platform, and then you need a dialer. You don't need a dialer, but it's definitely a nice to have if you want to go fast. Like I still do manual dialing, even though I have a dialer. Like we use the dialer that's built into our email platform, like Outreach.io and SalesLoft. But also, we partnered with InsideSales.com. They've got a great dialer. RingCentral. There's a lot of different outbound calling dialers out there that will help you go really, really fast. Connect and Sell, Leader. There's another one, I forget what it's called. Connect Leader, Monster Connect, and then Calendar. You need a calendar app for scheduling. Like you need to be able to easily communicate availability, get availability from people, get the meetings booked. And then lastly, I think that you need like pipeline management software and intelligence. So being able to effectively maximize pipeline management. There's a few new technologies coming out there that use AI to tell you like if a deal's at risk, how likely and probable a deal is going to close and all of this jazz, which is really cool. And then lastly, probably content management for sales playbooks. That's why we actually had to build our own SalesObjections.com, because we couldn't figure out a way to easily manage our 1,500 page sales playbook. So I recommend getting something to easily manage a sales playbook, whether it's Google Docs, whether it's HighSpot, whether it's SalesObjections.com, whether it's Guru.com, you name it. Get something so that your reps can easily leverage the playbook that has all the scripts you need to crush quota. You need to have a playbook for all the scripts and everything that happens in the funnel. Everything that happens in the funnel can be laid out, from cold calls, voicemails, emails, social touches, scheduling meetings, rescheduling meetings, meeting thank you and next steps, meeting follow-up and callbacks, proposal thank you and next steps, proposal callbacks, high usage, no usage, low usage. All of these things are funnels, sales funnels, and they have call scripts, voicemail scripts, text scripts, social scripts, email scripts. It should all be scripted out. And same with the sales objections.
And then what about on the learning side? So we talked about your food diet. What about your information diet? What are you reading, listening to, and watching, and when does that happen?
Ooh, yeah, good question. I mean, being an entrepreneur, like I already studied a lot about sales throughout, the past decade of being a full-time salesperson. And I'm always studying sales and sales strategy, right? But now it's more about learning how to build a great company that gets to 100 million in revenue. I've never done that before. Like I've always been a quota carrying top 1% salesperson. So for me, I have to learn all this other jazz to get us to 100 million in revenue and positively impact 1 billion people. So I'm reading a lot of books about paid search marketing, social media marketing, content development, customer success. And I'm going on Kindle, and like, if I have a problem around customer success, I'll go into Amazon's an investor in Seamless.ai. Literally, the founder of Audible.com, Don Katz, invested into Seamless. So we're big fans of listening to audiobooks, and I listen to audiobooks at 2x speed. I just love like getting all the content as fast as possible at 2x speed. And then on my Kindle, I've got the unlimited scroll. So guys, like, the unlimited scroll is a game changer. I took a few speed reading courses, and like, if you buy the books on Kindle, you could turn on unlimited scrolling, and you could like speed read a book really quickly and get all the key themes and strategies. Shit, if it's a 7 or 10 hour book, you get it in an hour. So I recommend, I just look at whatever I need to read at that point in time to take the business to the next level. I'll buy the top 3 rated books, read them quickly, and then go into execution. Like, whatever I read, I try to document. So I'll highlight everything in Kindle, or if I'm listening to it on Audible, in my notes on my phone. And then I try to make sure I execute, because it's easy to read something about sales or marketing automation or customer success or SaaS, freemium SaaS models and onboarding, and then not do anything about it. Really big on reading and then executing everything that you've learned into your own pipeline, into your own quota, into your own business.
Brandon, let's switch gears just a little bit. I'm curious to know, do you subscribe to a particular sales philosophy?
No, I don't. I mean, the answer is no. You use them all. Like, I think if you're always helping your customer, like, if you have an amazing product that changes the lives of your customers, and you're always helping them, and then you're applying like what I talked about, always be helping, always be prospecting, always be writing, always be helping, always be learning. Like, you just like multi-channel, and you have to use all the channels to maximize sales. You need to leverage all of the sales philosophies and strategies. Like, and you and I, Scott, we're passionate about highlighting sales experts. Like, I'm writing a book on it. You're writing a book on it. You've got a podcast. I'm doing a podcast on this. Like, we love learning all the sales strategies and best practices and philosophies from the top 1%, from the top sales performers. And I think, like, you've been so successful, and the people here on this podcast have been so successful because they don't just do the challenger sale or the predictable revenue Aaron Ross sale or the Anthony Iannarino, ultimate sales guide sale, or the Stu Heineke sale, or, the Mario Martinez sale. Like, you apply it all. You apply all the strategies, all the philosophies at the right point in time. It's being able to leverage all the plays. Like, a quarterback does not just run the same running play or the same passing play, right? They're not always throwing Hail Marys, or they're not always running a right back sneak to the left. It's the quarterback's got 1,000 plays. Tom Brady is a freaking animal, by the way. This is why I love role playing, like, to totally get off track. Tom Brady watches film 90% of his time. Like, and Tom Brady's a game changer. I don't care what anyone says. Like, I'm not from New England. I don't really watch football except for the Ohio State Buckeyes. College football I love, because the Browns, I'm from Cleveland, and they're terrible. But like, this is why I love role playing. Like, Tom Brady has 1,000 plays. He's using 24/7. At any point in time, he could read the room, read the prospects, read the sales objections that are going to come at him, and leverage the right play at the right time to score the touchdown to win the game, to win the Super Bowl. And he does that because he's always training, he's always learning, he's always role playing, he's studying film 24/7. That's why I make our guys role play. I also make our guys record every demo and try to record every call, because I think we can all learn from each other. That's not for me to get on these guys' asses. I don't believe in degrading salespeople and marketers on my team. I don't degrade anyone on my team. So, like, I used to work at companies that would, like, I don't know what it's called, like, yell at you if you did something wrong on a call, or maybe you didn't use the best sales script to overcome an objection. Like, I don't believe in that leadership. And this leadership I learned from Jeff Herman, by the way, of the multipliers effect. Like, how can we leverage all the intelligence and all the conversion rates and all the data to coach our people to maximize their success? Like, I'm trying to learn from my inside salespeople every day what I can do to increase my conversions from cold to booked appointment. I'm studying my AEs just like they're studying me, not to yell at them, but to figure out what are they doing that are helping them close deals, and then what strategies can we share with each other to help the whole team close more deals. So we don't subscribe to one philosophy or strategy. We use it all the plays.
Yeah. So I think that's so much about what this show is about. And if there's any consistent theme, I may change the way I ask that question in the future just to understand if there's sort of a core philosophy. Because I've yet to talk to anybody who's like, yep, I'm 100% pick your process, right? I'm 100% Sandler all the time. That's exactly by the book. That's what I do. No, it's best of, right? You sort of assemble your own process, strategy, and approach by picking the best of all of these different insights and methodologies and incorporating what fits best for who you are and what your selling is and who your market is and all of those pieces. So, Brandon, from a motivation perspective, one, what motivates all of this and how do you think about motivation in general?
Yeah, this is easy for me personally. Every day I am worried I'm going to die not living up to my full potential. Like, I am scared shitless of I am going to die knowing that I did not maximize my potential on this earth. I forget, there's 365 days in a year. You've got a certain amount of time. Like, I used to do the calculation every day, because right now I do a calculation on how many sales days there are in the year. Like, right now there's 111 sales days left in the year and keep selling. And I preach that to my team every day. I literally do a sales day countdown. How many sales days are there left in the year? So like, I also do like a life countdown, and I focus on, how many days like left in life do I have? And I'm worried that I have so much more potential, and I could be doing so much more to help more people maximize their potential, and I will be on my deathbed or something, and I will die knowing that I only lived 20, 50, 100, 80% of what I really could have accomplished. And for me, that's my motivation. Like, I've got a mission to positively impact 1 billion people. That's massive. That's like 1/7 or 1/8 the global population. I want to help 1 billion people maximize their potential. And in wealth, so like in sales and wealth and income, but also in wealth and health, I want to maximize 1 billion people's potential. So I'm just worried that if I don't give it my all every day, 7 days a week, I will die knowing that I quit on myself and I quit on what I could have accomplished here on this earth. And it's really weird. It's symbolic. Like, I don't know when I went from just like caring about quota to being this like focused on this broader, bigger mission and this legacy. Like, I don't care about legacy, by the way. Like, I don't care about my name or what people think about me personally. Like, I care more about like just helping people get to where they want to go and help them accomplish things that they never thought were possible. And, I think that's what keeps me up at night. How can I help people accomplish the impossible and as fast as possible and figure out what they didn't even know they had inside them? And death scares me the most.
Well, speaking of motivation, I wanted to give a shout out to another friend of the show, David Delaney, and his upcoming sales development conference. I'm pretty sure we'll be releasing this episode a little over a week before that event happens at the Ritz-Carlton in San Francisco on August 30th. This is the second year he's done that event, and it's 100% SDR focused. He's even got 2 tracks, one for leaders and the other for in the trenches SDRs. So you can check it out at 10bound.com/conference. And of course, we'll have that in the show notes as well. And if you use the promo code DD35, you'll save 35% on your ticket. So tell David hello if you're able to make it. I know it's going to be another great conference. And Brandon, I'm sure you can.
Amazing conference.
Yeah.
We're actually a gold sponsor. We'll be there. We're going to be giving away a ton of really cool stuff. It's an amazing conference, sales development conference, August 30th, Thursday. It's going to be amazing. If you haven't bought your tickets, go out there and buy tickets. you're going to learn so much. If you think this podcast is of value, the conference will definitely add dramatically to that, from the networking to the strategies that you learn, everything.
Yeah, and I believe so much in these conferences, right? It's one thing to read the books and listen to the podcasts, but you've got to rub shoulders, right? You've got to get face to face. You've got to have these conversations. And I really think that, iron sharpens iron, right? The more that we get to bump up against each other and share these ideas and what's working and share the failures and continue to improve, that's where the magic happens. And there's no better way to do that when you've got everybody in one room at one time at an event like that.
Yeah, we can't wait to be there. It's going to be exciting. Everyone that's on this listening in should definitely attend.
So, Brandon, is there something you believe that the average sales professional would think is crazy?
I think everything that I probably dropped on this podcast.
Been there, done that. What about the flip side, though? So what does the average seller believe that you think is crazy?
I think what I think is crazy is giving up on your prospects. What I think is crazy is doing the minimum to meet your quota or accomplish your revenue goals. What I think is crazy is putting in 9 to 5. What I think is crazy is, not making that next call when the prospect didn't pick up. You've got a proposal out and they told you that they'd close the deal today and it's 3 p.m. and you're just going to send one email and pray that they get back to you. What I think is crazy is, you've got a bunch of deals in your pipeline and you've sent 5 emails, made 7 calls, 3 voicemails, 2 social touches, and the prospects haven't gotten back to you in 3 weeks and you still have the deal in your pipeline. What I think is crazy is not studying, not learning, not being coachable. Dude, I'm trying to learn something new every day from the audience, from salespeople, from sales experts like yourself every day. Like, I used to be closed-minded. And then, when you open up your mind to feedback, to criticism, to ideas, to new strategies, you crush it. So I think what's crazy is being closed-minded, not open to new ideas, not open to new strategies, new sales scripts, new subject lines, new content, new channels, new technologies, new books. So I would challenge everything that you think is normal. I dropped a lot of stuff on this podcast that is out of this world, not normal. But hopefully you learned something from it that you can apply to take your potential, take your results, take your revenue, take your bank account, and take your income to the next level. Because I've already done it. Like, I've already made a lot of money, and I'm not here to do all this work to make a lot of money. I'm here to make you a lot of money. Every day I'm trying to make my audience a shitload of money. That's why I wake up every day. Because I know if I could help you guys all become millionaires, or join the 1 comma club or the 2 comma club, the 3 comma club, I'm going to make a lot of money. So we obsess over helping people make a shitload of money. And if we do that, we pull that off, your success, our success is reliant on your success. And I recommend, hopefully applying a lot of the things and strategies that we talked about on this podcast to crush it this year, to crush it next year, and to do things that you never thought were possible. Because we just motivated you to realize, dude, I'm just an average guy. I am just an average guy that came from a poor family in Cleveland, Ohio. I'm just a guy that learned how to do sales, selling at a company, and I've won hundreds of millions in deals. Like, everyone is average, but it's the talent. It's not talent. It's the hard work and the hustle that makes you become the top 1%. I was never super smart in school. I was never super smart in sales. I was never great at sales. I was never gifted in sales. I never had a lot of money. I never had anything. I never had connections, money, strategy, all this jazz. I just hustled my ass off and did all of these things. Always be learning, always be helping, always be filling the pipeline with data, always be writing, always be prospecting. The 5 themes that I shared, you're doing all of those things, you're going to go to the next level.
So, Brandon, you totally reminded me of Tim Ferriss did this thing. Derek Sivers went on a similar rant, and he put some music behind it. And I would do that if I had time to, figure out the licensing and stuff. But since I've already got you up on the soapbox, what advice would you give to somebody that's just starting out in their sales career today?
Yeah, this is a great question. I love this question. You know, I would do kind of what I did, right? Buy every book possible on sales and read them all. I don't care if I didn't like reading. I don't like reading, but I bought 128 different books on sales and I read them all over the course of years. Like, read as many possible. If you could read, I would try to read 1 to 2 books a week. If you could only do 1 book a week, pick up a sales book and read it. Then pick up the next one and read it. And there's a way to figure out what sales books are prioritized based on value. Like, just figure out all the sales books and recency, like by date, by relevancy, and by value. I would buy literally 120, 130 sales books. And I'm writing a book on aggregating all of the sales expertise. I know Scott has his book about what all the top sales experts do. That's actually why we wrote the books, because we don't want people to actually have to read the 130 sales books, right, Scott? But I would go back and I would pick up our books, pick up Scott's book, pick up my book, and then if you need more, read the 130 books out there on sales, and then just know that it's going to take way more work than you think. Like when I launched my company, and we would have quit, 99% of people in my position would have quit because they didn't have the 10-year mindset. So I knew I had a 10-year mindset. I had a 10,000 contact, email, call, social touch mindset. I had this like number 10 where I just knew it would take 10 times the amount of effort, the amount of work, the amount of money, the amount of time to be successful with Seamless. So like I don't consider where Seamless is at today a success. In 10 years, I know whatever we've achieved, we've given it our all in the timeline that I knew that it would take to be successful. So just make sure that you read a lot and that you prospect a lot, 10 times more than what your boss tells you to prospect, and that you're always learning, always optimizing, always helping. It's a lot of what I talked about on the podcast, unfortunately. There's not like one thing. It's the 5 things that I talked about here.
Well, and Brandon, does that advice change at all if, let's say that there's somebody listening to this show and they've been a middle performer, maybe they're making their number, they're doing okay, but they're nowhere near 5 or 10x, right? They're looking to double their income this year. We flipped their switch, right? It's game on now. What's your advice to them? Like they've been in sales for a while, they know some of the fundamentals and the basics. How do they kick it up and get to that next level?
Yeah. So, okay, this is great. I actually have something very specific. One of the strategies that took me to the next level was actually studying all the sales scenarios in sales funnel. So all the sales objections and every single thing in the sales funnel that can happen. And I talked about this a lot in the podcast. So you're going to have your cold outreach. You're going to have your scheduled meeting outreach. You're going to have your reschedule outreach. You're going to have your meeting outreach, your demo follow-up, your proposal follow-up, your nurture outreach. Then you're going to have your objections. The biggest thing that took me to the next level was, number 1, filling all the pipeline with all the leads, the 10x the amount of leads and data. That's critical. You have to do that. Like do way more than anyone else in your industry, your peers, your employees, you name it. Just fill the pipeline with everyone you need to sell to every day. Number 2 is the content around overcoming all of these sales objections, managing all of these different sales tasks or sales things that come up. Like if someone says, I'm not interested, no budget, send me more information. I need to talk to my boss. I'm not interested. I'm already working with someone. I'm already working with X. I'm already working with Y. I'm already working with Z, whatever that may be. You need to do that. So that's what I recommend doing.
Awesome. So Brandon, clearly you are also a student of sales. What would you want to know about the top 1% sellers in other organizations?
So what I would want to learn from other salespeople, top 1% performers, is what were the strategies, the habits, and the best practices that you employed, that you executed to become so successful. I also think it's important to figure out, like, what do you do? How do you get unstuck? Like it's easy to be highly motivated in good times. It's hard to be highly motivated in really, really bad times. So, what are some of the strategies and how do you stay so motivated in good times and bad? What are the strategies that you execute to become a top 1%er? In outside sales, what are the strategies that you leverage to, after giving a presentation or pitch, to follow up to get the deal done, to make sure that you're getting that deal from pitch to closed won or demo to closed won? I'd love to learn the strategies, best practices, and ideas that you leverage to make that happen. And then on the inside sales front, what are the strategies, ideas, and best practices to crush booking as many appointments as possible? And then on the sales leadership side, what are the strategies, ideas, and best practices to get your team consistently performing over a quota annually?
Awesome. Lots of good stuff. Anything that you would add sort of based on those questions for you? So, getting through the tough times and staying motivated, or, particular best practices in the demo to close arena. What are those for you?
Yeah, you got to have a big mission and a big purpose. So you have to become purpose driven. Don't worry about the 100K or the 500K or the million that you make. Like eventually you'll start making so much money you don't really care what goes in and what goes out. Like for me, like I never looked at the bank account. I just knew that money kept coming in. And that's awesome. And actually, like for me, I would close so many deals because I was building, because I built Seamless, and every deal that I closed would help fund Seamless. It was like a new deal that I had to close to fund my company. So I was very purpose driven. And the reason I was purpose driven was like I had to close this deal to get the money that I could put into funding launching Seamless, because I invested $500K in my own cash and left a $2 to $2.5 million salary out on the table over the past 3 years. But I was so focused on positively impacting 1 billion people. So like I was so mission driven. I was so purpose driven. And you got to come up with, what's your purpose? What's your mission here? And like, if you obsess over your customers and you become very purpose and mission driven to help them, you're going to help them make a lot of money, save a lot of money, and you're going to make a lot of money along the way. And I learned this from mentors like Cardone, mentors like Tony Robbins, mentors like Mark Benioff, like you name it. These guys are very purpose driven. They're very mission driven. At some point, you will have enough money that it doesn't matter. And, at some point, like you should really focus on like, what's your bigger mission? What's your bigger purpose? Because that shit keeps you motivated when you want to quit. That will keep you motivated when you've gone through hell. Like 2017 was my worst year yet. Like I had a CTO steal from me. I had like all types of bullshit go down. VCs were dropping, like, the tech was crashing, like, and then guess what? We fight through that because we're purpose driven and mission driven to help 1 billion people. And we get through it. We close a bunch of deals. We hire new engineers. We hire new salespeople. And now we're record growth, 500% growth. We're growing at nearly 50% a month. Every month, Seamless.ai is growing. How did I go from the worst year yet to the biggest year yet, raising $2.5 to $3 million for our seed round, hundreds of customers? We're on pace to acquire 100,000 users with Seamless.ai. The only way that we were able to do that was because we were mission driven, we were purpose driven. We knew it would take 10 years. So we said, we're going to go through hell for 10 years to get to the end goal. We know that it will be difficult, time consuming, expensive, and probably a pain in the ass to do. But we're going to do everything we can to get through it over the course of 10 years. And once we get to that end mark, we know that we've positively impacted a lot of people. And it may go longer than that. It may go shorter than that. But we're doing the 10-year mindset. Give it your all for 10 years. And $1 billion, our goal is to get to 1 billion, positively impact 1 billion people as fast as possible. We hope to do it sooner than 10 years, but at least 10 years.
And what about that demo to close piece? What works best for you in that place?
I mean, we're doing a lot of one call closes. So it's interesting. Like I was never like, I always sold a really complex solution, enterprise solution where we couldn't one call close people. So for us, now we're working the one call close, and like, it's weird if we're not converting, one call closes and demos at 50%, 40%. But then let's just say we don't close them. We're working to make sure that, do we need to set up another meeting with the DM if the DM's not on the call? Do we need to set up a meeting with the users if the users aren't on the call? We'll make sure that we get this, Seamless gives us cell phones of everyone, but we need to make sure, you got to make sure that you get cell phones, emails of everyone involved using Seamless, or by asking them, or by doing anything else. Set up that follow-up meeting with them while they're on the call. Don't get off the demo or the meeting or the pitch without setting up the closing call while they're on the line. And that avoids freaking email tag and scheduling tag. And make sure everyone's aligned on the value, the ROI, the results. One of the most valuable questions I ask is, who are the decision makers? Besides you, Scott, who else on the team needs to see something like this? Who else buys sales technologies like Seamless? And what do they typically say, when you're pitching them on buying a platform like this? What do they typically say when you're looking at a new sales technology? What do they need to see to give you budget, to give you the credit card, to give you approval, to sign the contract? Maybe that person just does it and they don't even need approval. They could sign the contract. Maybe they need to get DM approval, but this guy just cares about booking appointments, but the DM only cares about generating, revenue 3x the pipeline of what the quota is. So you got to figure out who are the DMs, the users, the influencers on the deal, get them all in the room, get them all aligned on the value and the ROI, and ask for the sale at the end. Don't keep asking for next steps. What are next steps? Okay, guys, you need this, you want this, you deserve it. It's only a matter of time before you do it anyways. So let's go. What's the best credit card number to put that under? Or what's, sign, I just sent this to you via e-sign. Why don't you authorize that right now? And I'll hold, and then we'll get you kicked off. You got to ask for the sale. You don't ask for the sale, nothing happens.
Yeah, there you go. So I almost forgot to ask about, I sort of teased in the beginning this kind of choice that you made. You have been both a successful sales professional. Now you're having success as a startup founder. If somebody's in that place, right, they've had a successful sales career. They've got this idea. They've got something, they've got a purpose that's driving them and pulling them. Talk about that choice and the pros and cons, and what's this really like, and what would you suggest to them, or what would you have them consider?
It's funny because I'm the entrepreneur that's the anti-entrepreneur now. This is my third startup, right? I left my job full time, making a lot of money, to launch Seamless because we had this vision to positively impact 1 billion people. And we knew that everyone needed sales, the world's best sales leads, and the data was garbage out there, and the market could not grow fast enough because they had the wrong data and they didn't have the contacts and accounts. So we had this technology that we were using that 10x'd our income and helped us become millionaires. And we knew we could help a lot of people do the same. I would before you think about quitting your high paying full-time sales job, if you're quitting your sales job, your high-paying sales job like me, to start a company and get rich, you will make more money being a top 1% salesperson. I'm just going to tell you, I learned this the hard way. Eventually, typically in sales, you're going to cap out at 1 mil a year to 2 mil a year, which, by the way, guys, that's pretty fucking good. That's freaking amazing. That's great. And those are the top 1% of the top 1%. So you will cap out. Companies will change your quota, will change your teams, will change whatever. But 1 to 2 million or even $500,000 is a lot of money. You can do a lot with that. I recommend keep making all of that money, keep crushing it, providing value to your company, providing value to your team, your employees, and investing in startups or investing in real estate, and not doing a startup. If you're doing a startup for the money, it's not worth it. Check this out. If I was making $1 million a year and I launched Seamless, first year I made $0. Literally paid myself $0. I went from a lot of money to no money. Second year, I paid myself 22 grand. Literally 22 grand year 2. I also had to invest $500,000 of my own cash. Everything on the line. Everything I had in the bank, everything I had in savings. I didn't touch my 401k. Luckily, I had a ton of cash in the 401k. I was prepared to rate it to fund Seamless. I've luckily did not have to do that. So I have some cash there, but I took everything I possibly owned, dumped it in the company. Year 3, I'll make probably 50 to 75 to 100 grand, probably 50 to 75 grand actually. So like and then year 4, year 5, year 6, when you get really big, your investors and your venture capitalists don't want you to pay yourself a lot of money. And because it's your own company, you're not going to pay yourself $200, $300, $400, $500, $1 million, because that money needs to go into hiring other people to help maximize the success of your company. So guys, if you want to start a company to get rich, don't do it. That's my advice. And I recommend just make a shitload of money in sales. Sales is the number 1 profession in the world. It's the most profitable. You can make the most amount of money. It's the most amazing opportunity. Stick with sales. You're not missing anything. All the hell that I've gone through, I promise you, no one deserves to go through it. No one should go through it. It's terrible. 99% of startups are like Seamless. It's hell. Everything's on fire. You don't have anything, and you have to make fire out of no wood, and you're in the desert. You got to figure out what to eat, and there's not anything around you for 100 miles, and you got to walk 100 miles to eat. It's terrible. And I say that not to discourage you, but I say that to give you advice. I recommend figuring out how to stay the top 1%, make a shitload of money, and it's the best thing in the world. I'm happy now being an entrepreneur because now we're impacting a lot of people. But for 3 years, no one knew who Seamless was. 3 years, I wasn't impacting barely anyone. 3 years, I drained everything I ever had into the company. My whole bank account's empty, frozen, nothing. My fiance, everyone around me, what are you doing? You've gone through all your life savings. You're going through hell. We don't see you anymore. All you do is work. You're not driving a lot of results, a lot of revenue, all this jazz. And now, you hit an inflection point once you get through the hell. But I want you guys to understand the hell that they don't write about in books, that entrepreneurs don't talk a lot about, because 99%, what we went through is exactly what you would have to go through. Now, if you're prepared to take no money for 3 years, if you're prepared to empty your life savings to launch your own company, I highly recommend it.
Well, I'm so in agreement with that. Sales Success Media, which owns the podcast, which is the entity that I created to house all of this stuff. It's really just a passion project. The biggest outcome that I get from this, and I'm coming up on 2 years. It's just starting to eke out, a little bit of money, but where the impact really is. I've gotten so much better as a sales professional, right? The people that I'm able to surround myself, the mentors that I've created through these conversations and a lot of unrecorded conversations have massively impacted my sales results. And the thing is, the size of company I would have to create to offset that, right? Take multiple 6 figures, now add all of the taxes and overhead additionally that you have to pay when it's your company and you don't have somebody paying the taxes, your benefits, providing the 401k, all of that stuff. I mean, I look at both sides. I'm like, oh my God, I would have to create a multi-million-dollar company for this to even begin to make any sense. And maybe it'll get there on the side, but the purpose is really giving back to this community. Selfishly, it's just making me better, right? The more I sell, the more money I make. That's where my bread gets buttered. So I think that's really fantastic advice. And Brandon, you're on the more successful side of the startup side, right? You're telling the truth about a winning startup at this stage, right? In your journey 3 or 4 years in, right? There are so many more that don't ever even get to this point.
Yeah. And because they quit, right? Because they didn't know that they would not make $1 for years. They didn't know that it would take 10x the amount of capital to build the technology, to build the software. They didn't realize we rebuilt our Seamless search engine that delivers the world's best sales leads 3 times. Imagine taking a few $100,000 and building a car and then smashing it with a massive hammer, destroying the car, and then having to build the car again. And then you realize, well, shit, you made a better car, but it's not perfect and it won't scale to drive 1 million people across the world. So then you got to smash that and then you got to rebuild. These are the things that you give it your all and you give it your best, but you didn't realize that it would take so much money, so much capital, so much work, so much time, so much energy. You'd have to sacrifice. Dude, I've sacrificed everything, like my money, my relationships, my time, my passions. Now Seamless is like my all-in passion, and helping a billion people is my all-in passion. So like, I don't really feel that way. I'm just saying that for the audience to realize, like, you will give up. I don't golf. I don't boat. I don't hang out on the weekends. I don't hang out at night with my friends. Like, not that I don't want to, but the business requires so much of you and so much of your time, just like becoming a top 1% salesperson. Being an entrepreneur is just like being a top 1% salesperson. It takes everything you've got and more to crush quota and to perform at 200, 300, 500%. You need to give it your all, and you're going to have to make a lot of sacrifices, and you better be damn prepared to do that if you want to make $1 million, make $2 million, make $500,000. Like, the reason why you're not where you want to go yet is probably because you didn't work hard enough, you didn't sacrifice enough, you didn't learn enough, and all of that comes back to just like hustle. You can do all of those things with a lot of hard work, and you need to do all of that work, and you need to make a lot of sacrifices to get there.
So if you're listening to this, keep selling. You're in the right place. Brandon, let's tie a bow on this thing. So we've talked about a ton of stuff, and I like to end with an actionable challenge. So the person listening to this, they've gotten inspired. You've flicked that switch in them. They're ready to take this to the next level. What would you challenge them to do in the next 7 to 10 days that is going to help them improve themselves and improve their results?
I'm going to say, 5 quick things. And it goes along with the themes. For the next 7 to 10 days, figure out the amount of contacts and accounts that you need to be filling the funnel with to hit 10x the amount of revenue and quota that you want to attain. So if your quota is $1 million, set it to 10, figure out the amount of contacts and accounts you need in the funnel to always be filling the funnel. Next, write 10x the amount of scripts for everything possible that happens in sales, so that you're always writing all the content that you need and optimizing all the content that you need, and then start executing the prospecting and the activity to hit that. And then lastly, you're not reading and you're not learning enough. So, I would recommend to quadruple what you're reading over the next 7 to 10 days. Because you and I'm not reading enough. I'm not learning enough. I'm living well below my potential. I haven't accomplished 1/100th of what I'm supposed to do here. And that pisses me off. So, let's all of us over the next 7 to 10 days, write out everything, 5 to 10x where we're at today, where we need to go, and just start. I don't analyze anything. Like, I launch and I don't think about it. Like, I launch these videos that have transcription and I don't edit the transcription. Then people laugh at me. Like, I don't care. I'd rather get the content out. Now I've started to edit a little bit, but like taking action on these things that we're highlighting and the strategies that we're highlighting, it's more critical to take action and to think big and to execute and to always be filling the funnel, always be writing, always be prospecting, always be helping, always be learning, than just sitting there, not doing anything, wasting time, wasting your life. I'm here to help you not waste your life. So start taking action, do all of these things, always be writing, always be helping, always be prospecting, always be filling the funnel, and always be learning ASAP.
So Brandon, you are a rather social individual online. Where can folks connect with you and learn more about what you're up to and about Seamless.ai?
I am exclusive. This goes against probably everything I preach, but I am exclusively on LinkedIn. So I have Facebook and Twitter accounts, but I really don't use them. I am 1000% on LinkedIn, Brandon Bornancin. Connect with me on LinkedIn, add me on LinkedIn. I accept everyone. We're launching LinkedIn TV show. We're launching all types of stuff on LinkedIn. That's where we're all in right now, on LinkedIn. And then also for the show, if you use Top One as the referral code, join Seamless.ai, the world's best sales leads today. We're going to give everyone 600 leads, $1,000 value for free on me and Scott because you listen to the show. So go to Seamless.ai, the world's best sales leads, join for free using referral code TOP1, 600 leads, $1,000 value.
Well, they had to earn that value. We've had a great long conversation. Brandon, I really appreciate your time and your being as open and sharing with us all of your insights and strategies and techniques that have gotten you where you are. Again, we are going to have epic show notes on this one at top1.fm. And remember, join that mailing list. That welcome email will provide details for how to get your hands on one of the videos, any video you want from the Sales Success Summit. And then, Brandon, what about your book? We're contributing to each other's book projects. You can learn about.
This is so exciting. And this is, by the way, guys, this is how you get to the next level. Scott and I are both passionate about understanding the top sales performers. You could consider us competitors, but we view each other as friends. And what can we learn as Scott writes his great books? And Scott, for the audience, share what your book is and where they can find it.
Yeah, so the book is Sales Success Stories. We've got over 20 contributors. More detail will be available. As we record this, I'm getting ready to go on vacation next week. So there's going to be a lot of work done. I'm going to have some extra brain space to work on the book project, but you can learn the most at top1.fm/book. If you're listening to this episode right away, there will still be a little bit of time where you can jump in on the crowdfunding campaign. All of those benefits are still going to be out there probably through the end of August. And I think that's going to be the drop dead date. I'm going to have to turn it off because one of the benefits, if you contribute $50 or more, you'll get your name in the book as one of our benefactors. So I can't keep doing that. We're going to have to close that off, and then we'll go down to traditional things. But that link will always take you to the most relevant place at top1.fm/book. Brandon, what about yours?
Yeah, and that's awesome. So we're writing Sales Secrets from the Top 1%. The world's best sales experts share their secrets to sales success, where we interview all the SDRs, the AEs, the VPs of sales, the sales authors, and entrepreneurs to get their sales secrets to sales success. Very similar theme to Scott's book, except we're kind of going more broad across the gamut. And you could find the book at secretsalesbook.com. You can pre-order today, $19.99. Highly recommend it. We've got some of the top sales authors. We've got some of the best entrepreneurs in the world in there. It's kind of like a compilation how Tim Ferriss did his Tools of Titans, where we're hitting everyone in sales and even in marketing and entrepreneurship for their sales secrets from the top 1%. And secretsalesbook.com, you can buy it at secretsalesbook.com. And actually, Scott's going to be featured in the book as one of the experts, and he's going to drop your knowledge as a top 1% sales performer and what you learned interviewing all these top salespeople and all the top sales success stories that you've gathered, which is really cool. You're kind of like a mini book in a book.
Yeah, well, I'm like the Tom Sawyer of authors, right? I basically convinced everybody else to write my book for me. So it's a fun model, and we're having a ton of fun with it. And the beauty of books is they're not zero sum like so many other industries are. And it's funny. I just learned this week that Anthony Iannarino is going to be launching his book on the very same day that I was planning to publish ours. And I don't think I'm going to change a thing. The beauty is I don't know a successful salesperson that only ever bought one sales book.
Never.
Right. We've bought lots, or in the case of Brandon, hundreds. And I think I probably fit in that category. I haven't done the math. I've been at this 15 years. I'm sure I've purchased well over 100 sales books. So here's 3 that are going to be new and fresh coming out this fall. I think there's a great opportunity. You shouldn't not buy Anthony's book. Anthony's a great author.
He's an investor in our company too, Anthony.
Well, and ironically, the title of his book is, I think it's Eat Their Lunch. And so it's about this idea of how do you take away business from your competitors. But again, I think the pie is bigger than that. I don't think that somebody purchasing Anthony's book hurts me. And I don't think somebody purchasing my book or Brandon's book is going to hurt Anthony one bit. So go out there and buy all of them. You need to go on a sales book buying spree this October, because clearly there's a lot of great stuff coming out. Brandon, this has been so fantastic. Thank you for just all of your time. Everybody go to top1.fm, get the show notes, because like I said, it's going to be a link fest to all of the great stuff that we've shared here today.
And go to seamless.ai, sign up for the world's best sales leads. We're going to hook you up. Scott wants to know about all the money that you make applying these strategies from our podcast today and the podcast that he's been hosting over the past 2 years to help you crush your quota. I want to hear about all the revenue and income that you generate using Seamless and from this podcast. And thank you guys so much. We're humbled to be here. and make it this next year your biggest and best yet. You've got more in you. You can do more. You've got more. Let's do it. Let's crush it.
Thanks for listening to the Sales Success Stories podcast. To be sure you never miss an episode, and for an invitation to our sales success community powered by Influitive, subscribe to our newsletter at top1.fm.